Hello everyone and welcome to BMOX. Here we build our own stuff step by step to continuously learn new things and continuously improve on things we have already learned. This playlist will contain videos where we will be solving Leetcode questions while understanding how to solve them in actual programming interviews. Programming interviews are primarily about communication and the manner in which you solve a problem. When asked a problem in an interview, most of us dive straight away into coding. While coding is an essential part of solving a problem, we need to understand that the code is only a part of the whole solution and not the whole solution itself. So like any engineer working in a company, we need to use this interview to demonstrate that we can understand the problem, clarify our understanding by asking questions, understand the interviewer's expectations by providing trade-offs, explaining them, and give reasons to choose one over the other. Write good quality code which can be easily understood by other developers with the right context. Explain the resources used in the code we have written. And finally, we should discuss the performance aspects of our solution. We will be deep diving into all of these while solving Leetcode questions. So let's start by picking a simple question. Leetcode 1, that is 2-sum. Solving 2-sum. So first of all, we need to understand what the question is about. Now, a very essential part is that in the interview, you will just be given a problem statement, while Leetcode provides you the problem statement, the explanation, the examples, the constraints, and all of these. But in an interview, you would just be given a problem statement and it's your task to get the remaining information out of the interviewer by asking meaningful questions. So let's ignore the examples and the constraints here. Let's just read the first paragraph, which is given an array of integers nums and an integer target. Return indices of the two numbers such that they add up to the target. Now, let's stop here because generally we would be getting this and the interviewer would expect us to ask the clarifying questions. So okay, let's see what questions can we ask here. The first question is like, are we guaranteed to find a solution? Or is it possible that there can be no solution? Let's assume that the array contains 1, 1, 1, 1 and the target is 50. Now it's possible that such use case or test case is given to us and there is no possible solution. But let's say we ask the interviewer that and the interviewer says no, there is a solution that is guaranteed. The next question is, are we guaranteed to find a unique solution? For example, there might be an array 2, 2, 2 and the target might be 4. Now indices 0 and 1 can be are essentially correct and indices 1 and 2 would also be essentially correct. So is this question guaranteeing us to give us a unique solution? The third is, in the return array, like we would be returning the indices. So should we sort the indices in any particular order? The lower first and the higher next, or can it be anything? The fourth is, what are we optimizing for? Are we optimizing for time or are we optimizing for space? Now, before asking this, we might sometimes actually give a solution for a brute force approach and then proceed ahead with asking this question. But that's okay. So we are just focusing on the questions right now. Then another question can be, since we are adding numbers here, is it possible that adding two numbers might cause an integer overflow? If one number is integer.max value minus 1 and the other number is integer.max value minus 1. Adding them will cause an integer overflow, causing the sum to go into negative. Do we have to optimize for such a case? And the last, which I can think of right now, is should we perform validation? So a very good example of validation in this context is, what if the incoming array of numbers is the length of the array is 0 or the length of the array is 1. So maybe asking this question actually helps the interviewer understand that we are going in the right direction. We have understood the problem in a well enough manner, right? And then we can go ahead and write the code as per the specifications which the interviewer has clarified by now. So we will be giving the brute force solution first to the interviewer to let them know that we have understood the question perfectly and we can optimize it later if the interviewer wants so. And the brute force solution in this case would be optimizing for space rather than time. So we would be having two loops, one with a variable I, which will go from 0 to the length of the array, and the second one can be j, which can go from I plus 1 to the length of the array. Now we will pick an array element that is nums I, and for each j we will add both of these elements to check whether the sum is equal to the target or not, and if yes, then we'll just return the array. Now this is a brute force solution, so let's optimize on this. Now we will be telling the interviewer that there is a trade-off between the time and space complexity. So if we need to reduce this time complexity, by the way, the time complexity here would be O of n square, and so you can imagine for a large array it would mean that it would take a lot of time. So now to make it take up less time and reduce the time complexity, we need to do a trade-off between time and space. So we will do that in our second solution. Coming to the optimized approach. Now the optimized approach is to trade some time for space so that the overall time complexity can be reduced. And we need to store two very critical pieces of information in that space that we are provisioning. And those information is what numbers have been encountered till now and what are the positions where we have encountered them. So if we iterate over the array and we get a number, we can see have we encountered any number such that adding these two numbers then equals target, and if yes, then what was the position it was encountered at. So the perfect choice for this seems to be hash map, and hash map also supports constant lookups, that is O of 1 lookups. So let's go ahead with hash map. We will be defining a map, mapping integer with integer. Let's call it map. Okay, and then we will iterate over the array now. Let's define an integer, and we can name it looking for, and this is equal to target minus nums of I. So now this is the value that we are looking for in the hash map. So let's say we will say if map dot contains key. Now we will store the number in the key, the number that we encounter, so that it becomes very easy to look that up. So map dot contains key looking for, then we'll return both the indices. Now it says that you can return the answer in any order, but we will, in actual interviews, we will clear that up in the interviewer. So we'll return an array with the index of looking for and the index of the number that we are iterating on, that is I. And then we will, if not, so if we don't find the number that we are looking for, we will just add this number, that is nums of I, with the corresponding place. Now because we are sure, we are guaranteed that there exists a solution, we know that the code will not reach line number 14, but in any case we will have to provide a return statement because the current return statement is in a if block, but it doesn't matter, so we'll just return array with 0 and 0. So testing this with the examples that we already have, let me run this code. and our solution is accepted. Let's run this code for all the solutions, all the examples, all the test cases. Submitting the code now. Let's see what that gives us. Okay, that is accepted. So that means the question actually did not support two numbers adding which could cause an integer overflow. So that was okay, but be sure to ask that to your interviewer. So finally we have arrived at the end of our solution, and if it were me who was asked this question today in an interview, this is how I would have answered this question. But the solution is not perfect. The code works, but the solution consists of more parts other than the code. But that's okay, right? As we always have room for improvement and growth. We will continue our journey of learning in the next video. Till then, happy learning.